I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is Project Architect 2. Now, today's episode is going to be another major milestone, because today we should gain access to our first creative bin. But this is going to be where the tough part starts. What item do I use in that bin? What is going to be the most important item for me to put into that bin? And should I start thinking about what I'm going to put in the other bins as well, and kind of strategizing, making this process smooth? But see, now I'm sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I have on one side of the creative bin options, I have infinite EMC, which is going to help me, of course, in the future with tons of other operations. But I also have on the other side, like in a potential item that I can use, like maybe, for example, I can put like a certain tier disk inside one of them from Applied Energistics, which will definitely make crafting easier. Now, of course, once I get the third one, I'm not really worried, because at the time that I do get the third one, which you have sort of three paths you can choose, once you do get to the third sort of creative bin, you're going to gain access to infinite amounts of creative bins. So whatever choice I decide to make today will also influence potentially what choices I make for the next bin I unlock. And this is where I need to start considering what is the hardest thing for us to obtain. Now, we've already completed this entire list, and I find that this is probably one of the easier tasks to complete. Next easiest task is definitely going to be the wild hunt, but you need all three of them completed to unlock the creative bin. Now, this one right here is pretty straightforward to obtain, and I don't feel like any of this is going to need creative anything. Where I think creative is going to be needed is in this screen right here. And there's a couple of options. Do we go infinite EMC, which will make this gargantuan a little bit easier, as this needs 1.7 quintillion EMC to actually pull out of the system? Or do we go another route, making, for example, these infinite storage parts easier to craft? Or do we go this route, basically setting up some of these 256K storage components and having an infinite amount of those, making these crafts even easier? So this is where I'm sort of stuck. What do I do? Do I go EMC or do I go with something else? So I think this is going to require a bit more thinking. And so in the meantime, let's actually get our creative bin, because I think we now have everything in this section ready to actually go. We just have to send these blocks and submit them into the quest. Now, I find one of the easiest ways to sort of build things up like this and get all of these required items is to pin the task. That way it stays over here on the right hand side, and then you can open up your book. And now you can't see them here, but if you Control O, you can actually disable the JEI, which makes it super easy to read this. So the way you can get all of these items pulled out, which is going to be very helpful, because we are going to need a lot of different items to just kind of turn in on this quest line. So for example, I just need to hit submit. It's going to take the items out of my inventory and allow me to submit these. And of course, all of these have EMC values associated to them. So these are the easier ones to submit, for example. So this is not too bad, getting all of this nice and completed. Now, once I have all of these items submitted, there we go. That one quest is done, and I'm working my way towards the next ones. So the log ones are all super simple, because like I said, a lot of these are just sort of like an EMC check, really just making sure that you've pumped a little bit of time as well into your EMC production. Now, the real interesting ones are going to be these that you see down here. So we have these matter blocks, right? And so this is also a pretty large EMC check. Notice this says quadrillion. And this is where I think that having another bin would definitely help with these as well, because this one's 783 quadrillion. Notice I'm only at 400,000 quadrillion. That is nowhere near enough to be able to actually complete these tasks. So I think this is where I should probably head back into my Mekanism area and start adjusting my EMC. And I probably should have done this a long time ago. But essentially, this is our highest tier EMC production method that we have available to us. And that is by converting Archium, using antimatter, and sending it over. So essentially, I just need to scale this up. Now, I kind of have an idea for a modular and scalable EMC production with these antiprotonic nuclear synthesizers. Boy, that's still a mouthful. And that's going to involve modular routers. So this should be a pretty straightforward process, allowing us to only have one, and we should be able to get away with just one EMC link for the entire array that we're going to build. And so this is going to take quite a few of these nucleosynthesizers in order to do this. I believe it's 72 nucleosynthesizers, but this is like the maxed amount that, for example, a modular router can even support. And so essentially where my math is coming from is inside of a modular router, we have ourselves nine slots to essentially put upgrade cards in. And so what we should be able to do is use distributor cards, and those can only accept 8 individual machines. So with that in mind, that kind of changes how things work and how we kind of do our math. And so what I've done is I've essentially taken the max value that I can get there, and I've multiplied them together. So we end up with 8 times 9, which ends up being 72, which is the same number, like I said, of the nucleosynthesizers that we need. And now I'm also going with this sort of pattern. I think this looks really nice. And of course we can expand upon this if we really need to. We can add more rows anywhere we want. But I was thinking this looks pretty nice, pretty clean. Now we just essentially need to feed all of these antimatter, and then we also need to feed them the item going in, and we need to get the item coming back out. Now for sending the antimatter and power into this, we're going to use the universal pipe. Now, unfortunately, you can't use a normal tier upgrade in this. So I can't get by with using a netherite, and of course using those higher tier ones, the ultimate ones, or the unlimited ones, those do cause some TPS issues. And if you start to use a lot of them, which I have been, but in this particular setup right here, I feel like it's going to be super useful. Now you could get away and of course design it however you want, but I wanted to use these because we do have the ability to facade them, so I can kind of make them look really nice in here. And this kind of gets 2 jobs done in one. It powers, and it's going to feed the ether gas, which also allows us to, for the first time, feed chemicals through the ultimate pipes, which we haven't done until now. Because if you didn't know, the pipes mod actually has compatibility for Mekanism, which is fantastic. So you can actually send gases through your Mekanism, or through your pipes mod pipes. So I have my point here. Make sure to have the bypass limit turned off. And then I'm going to place my creative chemical tank right here. And all of these should allow us to just insert right in, not needing to worry about any sort of configuration side or anything like that. So if I set this like so and like so, now we should see these slowly filling up with power. Yeah, very, very slowly, but they are not filling up with antimatter just yet. And that's probably because we might have to define where our gases go in. No, all sides show input. So maybe one of these are filling up as of right now. Or maybe this doesn't have the output defined on the back. So let's go under gases. No, we have to define the output on the back. And so now they're filling up with antimatter. Now we'll have to see, but I feel like the infinity pipe upgrade is probably a little overkill for the antimatter, as we're only using 5 millibuckets per operation. So the ultimate should get the job done there. But for the infinity for the power, this is probably going to be 100% necessary, because each one of these uses 4 million RF per tick to run, which equates to over 288 million FE per tick just for these machines alone. And so for this middle section right here, this is actually going to work out really well. So I'm going to be using the final EMC link. This has an unlimited transfer in and out, or so it says. And so if I know how these work, we have the right side, by the way, which is input. The left side is auto output. So I don't have to configure these at all. I should just be able to set all of my cards from my modular router into this and hopefully get this to work. Now, one thing I am going to do, because I'm going to be using all the slots for sending, I have to pull the items out, and I'm also going to need to send the items in. Essentially, we're creating sort of this infinity loop, which I really think is cool. So now I just need to make sure this whole set of cards, which I have right here, are distributing in the proper way. So we need the mode to be set to round robin, which is what it is. And we want the first set to be transferring out of the router, which is going to be our insertion. So I'm going to define all of these, and we do 1 stack per card. And I'll just shift right click until I get all of them. There's 3 up top, and I set this here so I can stand on it. And all of those locations should be defined. Unfortunately, I can't see where they're defined, which typically you can when you're highlighting this, but I guess it's the way this machine's model set up. You can't. But I've just got to go around for each of them, on that particular side and get them all linked in. And you know, I tell you what, while I'm doing all of this, I was I'm at the max. That was a weird noise. I was thinking about the way that we're doing this stuff in the in-game of this pack. I don't feel like I've ever done this in any other mod pack. I don't think I've stress tested essentially what these mods can do ever. So it is pretty cool to actually have some in-game goals that require some really high scale and large scale setups for things. Because stuff like this really stress tests these mods, because I don't know if they were ever thought about being used in a setup such as this. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see if this can distribute all of these items in the appropriate way. It's going to be pretty cool to see, and how it actually handles this. Now for the other side, by the way, which is going to be our input, we just need to swap this to send into the router. We can do all the configurations for all the cards when they're in a stack, and then we can spread them out, and we can start working on this again. So shift right click from the bottom and continue all the way up for all 72 of them. So now with it all linked together, it's almost the moment of truth. I want to see if this is actually going to function correctly. So the insertion should be at a fine rate. We just have to set what our value is for here. And that is through the chosen here. Let's go ahead and put the archim and click it. And it should start to distribute those. Now we don't have speed upgrades in here yet, so that's something else to keep in mind. So speed and stack upgrades definitely need to go into this modular router. There it goes. So that is now in there. Now, for some reason, our puller isn't pulling. Oh, did I set this up backwards? Oh, I linked it up backwards, didn't I? Oh, that's so goofy of me. So that's correct. This actually needs to be pulling here. There we go. And that gets pulled out. And there we go. The fading matter gets pulled out of there. And then we'll put an upgrade in here. And so now fading matter should be entering here, and this should hopefully be pulling that fading matter out. Or at least it should be pulling it out. Oh, that's because I didn't set this again. Oh, so goofy. Okay, there we go. So now it is pulling out. You can see it, and we get the speed upgrades, and we should be good. Oh, fantastic. Put the speed. There we go. That is rocking and rolling. And we definitely need a stack upgrade. So, oh goodness, this is going to be incredibly fast. Which is interesting. I'm noticing it pulling only from this side, even though it should be running through all of these cards. It's just not able to keep up, I guess. Oh, that's actually a problem. Okay, now hear me out. I think I found a solution to this that is also kind of clean looking, but I can't say that it's super performance helping. And that is to send the items in world and let a collector collect them wirelessly and send them directly in. This right here could be what destroys the world, but you know what? That's the fun of single player worlds, is I can kind of go crazy. So let's try 2 advanced, just so I can make sure I cover the entire area. This allows me to get rid of this, this block, which I now do not need anymore. And I might move this cable right here to the back to make it even cleaner looking. But I was trying to see, does the range on this cover everything if it is in this position and if the max range is set? Let's lock the region. Oh, this actually fits it perfectly, just having one on the top right there. Okay, so hear me out. What I can do is I can use these world transporters. I even thought about using Create's brass funnels, but these look a lot cleaner. And you place them on the side and they're just going to automatically send the items out onto the ground. And of course, the collector collects them. But the way it flickers looks so cool. And it is 100% functioning. And it does seem like it is keeping up on all of these. And they're just as simple as just placing in. This cannot be good for TPS. I wouldn't think, but you know what? I've been wrong before. Like, this just seems absurd. Also, I'm noticing now that this may not be able to send, or I must have missed that location. Must have missed that location on one of these senders. So now this setup is insane. And it is very, very different than setups I've ever done, but it really goes to show how powerful these collectors are from Item Collectors mod, simply because it is pulling these items right out of the inventory here and dumping them right on the ground. And so now this is running at its max rate, and you can see we're at about 100 trillion EMC per second, which even at that rate just doesn't seem like a lot compared to the amount of EMC we're going to need for these quests right here underneath the What's the Matter. And I'm really starting to feel what's the matter, because we're not going to be able to complete that, I think, without the help of another chapter under the Wild Hunt. So as much as I thought I was going to be getting a bin today, I don't think I am. Now, taking a look at that, let's head back into this and let's go ahead and finish up some of these other remaining quests, as I feel like everything here we now have. The only thing that I didn't account for was the sheer vastness of EMC that was needed for this one quest. But we did go through all of this and we have everything to complete except for that one. So what I think might end up happening, because I was looking at the Wild Hunt quests, and I feel like this is definitely a more achievable thing to do, to be able to get before we have that EMC finished. Then we can use this bin to get that EMC, and then we can easily complete that after we have the creative bin of essentially EMC, and then we'll have another creative bin here. So I think I've solved my order of bin progression line, and I'm honestly starting to think about the next bin as well, and I think that bin is going to have to be either a 256K or a 64K storage component, because that is just going to make the tremendous amount of crafts for all of these other things a lot easier to do, because crafting those things from Applied Energistics takes a huge amount of time, and so we might be able to bypass it by doing that way. So EMC is definitely the thing. Now, I do want to pop in here and I want to grab out all of the items that we were needing, right? I think for the Draconic, let's see, the Draconic is under the Dragon one. We needed 6 times blocks, and I do believe we have some 6-time blocks. Holy smokes. So those were definitely able to be done. And so when I'm done with this, by the way, I am going to pull out these infinity upgrades here. I do not want them running anymore, and this is actually going to save us on TPS once this is done. This also was a 6-time blocks that we need, so I'll go ahead and pull all of these upgrades out of here as well. We definitely want to make sure that we're not kind of overflowing our system, and these upgrades do cause, like I said, lag. And then of course over here, 6 times for each of the wood variants, and these are all now done as well. And then to complete this final chapter here, we actually just needed a 5 times, and we definitely have 5 times compressed on our netherite. And all of this, by the way, I will be using. This will get stored, and each of these compressed items are going to get a storage slot with our mega cells, just to make that a lot nicer, giving us plenty of items in stock ready to be used at a moment's notice. Now, I do want to store this world away. I'll go ahead and take that, store it over here. Let's see, we have Jelly in the Stars. I think this one was still being worked on. I don't know if it's done yet. Let's see, we needed a 6 times compressed. It looks like it's very close to having the 6-time compressed done. We are up to 8 5-time compressed on this one and 7 on this one. So yes, I'll give this one a little bit more time. So we'll store that one away. And I think the other ones though are done. The factory room, that was one other one that needed to be done. We finished all of those. Those were all of our metals. And thankfully that is now shut down, helping a little bit with our TPS. Crafting Madness. Okay, so this is the emerald for sure. Emerald block over here. And the emerald block, we needed a 6 times emerald, if I do remember correctly. And that is this one right here. And now for our steel, we also have that one. That was a 5 times compressed steel from all of our alloys. And also, I should probably go check on all of my alloys, as I think we have those done as well. They have been running for quite a while and should be finished. And we did these in the thermal section. So if we head up here, oh man, it just feels so good being at this stage of the game. So if we check, it looks like we have definitely 5 times compressed on all of these individual ones. So like there's 5 times. And like I said, these are going to be able to be stored, and we're going to store them all inside of those mega compressed cells. And also over here on the fallen stars, we now have our 5 times compressed fallen star, which is a huge task, by the way. Also with that huge task, I went ahead and shut down this, making sure that is completely off as well. By the way, this container will disconnect if the dimension is not in its location. So for example, this right here is actually what it's connected to, but only when it's connected in that dimension. So now that should also be reconnected. And we should now actually see it in the display here. Whereas before it was completely borked. Now we need this off because there is a quest that's going to require a lot of Blizz cubes. And I've actually updated the pack a little bit. This update will be out before the this video goes live. But I did update the spawners. And so now the spawners can spawn up to 16 mobs per operation on max, where it was set to 5 before. So I've done a lot of like quality of life stuff as far as that goes to definitely make these quests a little bit simpler. Not only that, I did also want to mention that if you're a Create fan, you're going to love this. I added the combiner recipe for all of the Create blocks, and I also added recipes for the shadow casing and for the radiant casing. As these are obtainable in here, you can get this chromatic compound, you can drop the radiance over a beacon beam or the shadow steel directly into the void. This will pop back up as shadow steel. It is a very cool little mechanic, but also some pretty blocks, and all of those now can be made in the combiner, so no need to set up the kind of wonky contraption that you have to set up for Create to get those casings up and automated. So now with all of that, I think it's back to completing all of this. So let's complete that chapter. So that one is done. This one needs blocks of redstone times 9 or 9x, like that. So now we have the blocks of redstone. That will complete this chapter with the alloy submitted and also the redstone. Let's see, all of the alloys we should now have. It feels good submitting these because, I mean, I've spent a lot of time and effort getting all of these up and running. So it is very nice. Oh, the industrial iron. I almost forgot. Oh, and quartz enriched iron. So quartz, 9 times. Quartz enriched iron, that's block of quartz, we need quartz enriched iron. That one is a simple complete there. Beautiful. And then also, if we head back over here, we do have our industrial iron, which is up here, and we have 5 times. Perfect. Awesome. So the 5 times we can now complete. That is going to be our alloy chapter completed. That's a lot of work for that alloy chapter. The matter one we can't do yet, but the dragon one, we definitely have that one finished and submitted. The compressed power. So I think this is almost done. Everything except for the uraninite. The uraninite actually takes quite a lot in order to get that done. It looks like all of this other stuff has EMC. The blocks of experience we do not have yet. That's another project we have to work on. But outside of that, oh, emerald. That's another big one. That was a 6 times that didn't have EMC. That was another huge complete. Oh, also when we need to do all of our planks, all of this just being some super fun automation. I hope you guys have enjoyed this thus far. This has been quite the journey for me, in my opinion. And then the star compression, which is just a nether star check and also a check on your mob farms. Beautiful. So yeah, at this point, let's go take a peek at our power setup, because I think we have everything, like I said, except for the uraninite. As this is taking the most amount of time, I have a 5 times here. And I did go ahead and exchange this out for it as well. Let's see, I have a 4 times over here. So that's 8. And I think another one of these I also exchanged for uraninite as well. This one's also uraninite. No, this is, that was left the same. Probably should have converted that into uraninite. Looks like, yeah, this one's also uraninite. Oh yeah, so we definitely have it. For sure. So that's the 4 times. I'll just take all of these and also the one out of here, because once these regular blocks completed, I went ahead and just exchanged them all. And so I should be able to drop this in here. That will auto do the conversions, and there's our 5 times. Oh, perfect. So yeah, so now we have literally everything here. So we definitely have a 5 times of the nitro. We have double the amount we needed. Oh, good goodness. The spirited, we have double the amount we needed. And also on this side, which we also have energized steel. And I think that's everything. No, it's not. We're missing one more, which I think is over here. Yes, our blazing. And there's our 5 times on the blazing. So that's another difficult chapter, in my opinion, completed and done. Now, I do have a huge list pulled up on the right, but I might be able to use some of this time I've got built up in my pouch over here. I can dump that into these, and these start producing incredibly fast when they're done that way. So yeah, I definitely will have a 6 times now. So there's our jelly done. And I think this one is almost finished. Nope, it is 100% finished. So now there we go. So we have our honey blocks and our royal jelly blocks done. And now I just got to, I think, make the block of experience. This, though, is going to be another very hefty process that I think is going to require a lot of create. Outside of that, I've just got to grab all of these items that's in the list and just get them turned in, because almost all of those have EMC, I'm pretty sure. So I've almost got all of these submitted. I'm slowly but surely working on them. That one's a block of coal. I have my huge list is dwindling down, though, which I absolutely love to see. Let's see, this one's done. We have our coal, and it's just a matter of me submitting through all of these. Don't know if this is boring or not, but to me, I feel like it's a huge achievement to have made it this far and made it into this point. So that is a block of blazing. I thought I had a block of blazing. Maybe I didn't. Oh, no, I didn't. These are so pretty looking. I mean, honestly, some of these blocks would make for a really good decoration, especially since they're covered in like chains. Essentially, I mean, that looks really nice. So that's done. I think everything in this quest is done except for the EMC section and us getting blocks of experience. And you know what's funny? We can actually convert this setup right here to do these blocks of experience, which are going to take a long amount of time, but we should be able to easily handle that. We just need to change our interface up here so we can remove this. We're no longer going to be sending iron into any of these, so we can just pull them all out and get them ready for their next operation. Now that does mean for these bottom sections here, I do have to go in and add the experience block as the filter for pulling out of here, because that's what we're going to be ultimately making. Now, nothing down here actually needs to be heated. You could do this without it having heat, but having it heated shouldn't affect it in any way. So we should be able to leave it up and running with no problem like this. Now, this is going to rely on a creative tank of the liquid experience that we set up automation for our final star production. So right here, I have a tank. Essentially, I set up this tank so my dropper can work on it, just to make it super easy to collect our fluid and create our creative tank. So there we go. I now have some liquid experience, and that means I can drop it into this creative tank. And I think the way I want this to work, I could go ahead and just have the tank set up here. Yeah, this will be fine. And then I will set this mode to be able to pull from the tank, and that should fill these up with fluid. Should is the key word. Of course, once there is fluid in the tank. So there we go, there's experience, and now you can see those are getting filled up. Now over here, we're gonna use honeycombs. So we need to send honeycombs into all of them. And so that should route the honeycombs. We'll set that to 64. There we go. And now all of them have honeycombs, they have the fluid, and I have the filter set. So this should be ready to go. I just am going to need a piping upgrade on the speed, just to make sure that this can send the fluid fast enough. And then just hook a gearbox up. Oh, beautiful. It does need to be a vertical gearbox. And as soon as that's ready, all of those will then kick on. And look at that. That is now making blocks of experience, and that's what we need. We need these to constantly be working. Oh, it looks like something happened over here. Oh, that's right, because oh, it's compressing the honeycombs. So I do need a block of experience, and just like before, each one of these have to be defined, and so we have to tell it what recipe to only do. So after that, there we go. This is now actually working, and we can see those blocks now being compressed up. Now, just to speed these up a little bit, we could actually use, believe it or not, temporal pouches on here Now, this is not a long-term solution, but there are solutions that can actually speed these mechanical presses up. That is a part of Industrial Foregoing Souls, which I haven't dived into because I wish there was an easier way to transfer the pipes around, because it is kind of a messy sort of solution. Like, there's no way of sending it cross-dimensionally or anything like that. But you can do this, like, 3 times on these, and yeah. Or even 2 times, because 3 times might be too much. It is a little bit wonky going on here. I don't know if this is actually effective or not. Maybe 2 times, because as soon as you go over, I think 6 times speed, it starts to break things. But that is hilarious to watch happen in the background. Now with that, I think this is a pretty good stopping point for today's episode. And hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I came in today with the expectation that we were going to be getting a bin, but, well, I found out very quickly that our EMC is going to be preventing us from doing that, which is kind of an interesting thing to have happen. But we will be getting a creative bin very, very soon, because our next task is going to go after mobs, and that is one of my favorite things to play with. And so if you enjoyed today's episode and you enjoyed videos like these, be sure to click that subscribe button and give this video, of course, a huge thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And also comment down below what was your favorite thing that happened this episode, or if I did something incredibly off, let me know a better way to do it. I always appreciate things like that. And of course, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Kronos Custom. Thank you so much for your amazing support in choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting me in one of the best ways possible. Also, thanks to all of you who support me over on Patreon as well, and here on YouTube as a YouTube member. You guys are absolutely the boss, and I do appreciate you very, very much. That also goes out to those who support me over on Twitch as well. So be sure to check me out on Twitch if you haven't already. You can, of course, find that link down in the description below, or you can go to twitch.tv/ChosenArchitect, where you can easily find my channel over there as well. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.